We must put this in perspective to look at how things are working in Africa. Every single national park and game reserve today, without exception, is underfunded. Just look at Kruger National Park, perhaps one of the best known national parks in Africa. 1 million visitors a year. And yet Kruger, with all its money and its resources, still has to bring in the army to help with the protection of rhinos. Now, what does that say? That the way we're running things in Africa, with the money that we have that's generated from conservation, it's simply not doing the job that we want to get things right.
If we look globally, the biggest threat to wildlife is the expansion of domestic stock. 4% of the global zoo mass is now wildlife. So that means 96% is in domestic species. So why have domestic species increased? Domestic species have increased because they're owned by people and people are allowed to use them. What we've shown in Southern Africa is that when you can own wildlife and you can use it, it can come back. And so to me, the recovery of wildlife from 4% up to 30 or 40% depends on us giving the ownership back to the people who live with it. Our biggest threat is international governance to this, because in countries like Southern Africa, we have shown categorically that sustainable use policies, not just random arbitrary management, but proper policies that give the ownership to wildlife and encourage markets, provided the money goes back to the landholder, are extremely successful. The biggest threat to wildlife is certainly not poaching, although poaching is visible. The biggest threat is replacement by other forms of land use. And therefore, the more valuable wildlife is, the more wildlife is going to spread across the landscape. And so international governance that is starting to chip away at the value of wildlife is actually a very serious threat to the future of wildlife in Africa.